Hello guys, welcome to another ZBrush tutorial. In this one, we're gonna try to do a armor around its default female head. So let me start by duplicating it. I'm now using the dynamic preview. Sorry, and this one here, geometry. They have this dynamic subdivision preview. I'm using this one. Okay, let me go Shift D to go back, and then the first thing I can do is start slicing, BSI, to start slicing out where I want the armor to be. Maybe something around the head. Better do it in front of the camera. Let me turn out perspective just to make things easier for me. So I don't want anything fancy for now. Let's just focus on the technique. Okay, let me mirror welds just to do that. So one over there, maybe I can give it I can get one more from the side, wrap around the face somewhere here, then go back and here. Okay, just focus on the shape for now. That's why I use slice curve, because it's more or less focusing on the shape. Oh, huh. Maybe I need to use two slice curves in order to make a closed shape there. Okay, so let me just do that then. Right, again here, maybe I can do something here. All right, cool. Okay, and then maybe one more cut here to finish my other piece. Alright, so let's say I just want maybe those two pieces of armor here. Let me Control Shift to isolate those two. Change back to there. Okay, isolate those and then delete hidden. I can do a auto group, and then I can also get rid of those ones I don't want to. If you cannot see the backside, you can turn on the display here, and display properties. You can turn on double, and okay, you can then maybe just eliminate those ones too. Delete hidden. It's underneath. Modify topology underneath geometry, and then delete hidden. Okay. So this is the armor I want. Okay, I'm not gonna do too much change or fine tuning on the shape. So the next step, I'm gonna zero measure them just to get a better topology to represent them. Okay, oftentimes I zero measure them with a higher resolution and then go down to something around 1 and do it one more time. That one is actually not giving me a proper result there, but I guess I can use move to bring them back, and I can use the modeling tool to you know, stitch them back. Let me go back to 1, turn off symmetry, use stitch to midpoint, click on the first and then the second. Okay, that's gonna stitch them together. Some basic modeling techniques. Alright, and then I can maybe do one more zero measure. Okay, and I can even go lower than that. Let me go for half and zero measure just to get lower and lower resolution until I think, okay, that's enough, that's simple enough now. And then I can start really to extrude out the thickness, okay, by using the extrude, the modeler, extrude all polygons. Okay, and then I can extrude out the thickness. Okay, alright, and we all know that for almost all the armors on the edge, you have a thicker edge, right? You have an ending here or a edging on the side. So to do so, you can of course go use the same extrude polygons. You can extrude out let's use polyloop actually. Extrude the polyloop and extrude out, and then extrude out from there. Okay, that's gonna give you a edging on the side. Now, of course, sometimes you don't want to make it thicker, because if you do it this way, right, you're making a sticker, and sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't, right? You just want this shape instead of this shape. So instead of extruding out, you can push things in first if you want to keep the same, you know, size. So you can use extrude poly loops, drag them in by holding down shift. That's gonna shift the faces inward, and then you can extrude them back out, and then you can extrude out the thickness if that's more you know, or less what you want. So this way we're not changing the size of the armor at all. Okay, let me do the same thing here on the top. Okay, so I can push faces in first by holding down shift while using extrusion, and then extrude them back out, and then I can do the thickness. Same thing here on the top. Maybe go a little bit further, and then okay. Now we have nice edging on the armor. Okay, now what's next? For a medieval kind of armor, we all know that they don't have like a very complicated you know, detail on it. So let's try apply that too. Okay. Let's do the top one here, and to get that amount of detail, we need to Control D to at least subdivide it a few times until we get enough polygon to capture that kind of you know, information. Okay, and then let me isolate that, and you see that when I isolate that part, I'm isolating the edges too, so I can do a auto group here just to give me, you know, separations on those things. Now I have the middle part all to me here now, and then I can try apply some detail on it by the first idea you may have is using standard brush with an alpha on it, right? With this alpha, we can of course load some other alpha here. The thing is, you have to go all the way across. And another thing is that you cannot make them seamless. Let me go load a alpha actually. So here I can load this one, and then you know, I can drag it out, but I cannot drag it and make it seamless, right? That's really a big problem here. So that's not good enough. Another technique you may think could be working is noise, right? So let's try that. Underneath the surface, you can go for a noise here, and then you can load in the same alpha, and you can change the alpha strength here just to see it. I don't want to see the other noise, so let's change the mix to 0, so we're only seeing our alpha. So that way, it's actually just projecting everything from the 3D space. Depending on what angle you're looking at the model, when you're loading the alpha, you'll have different kind of projection. But it always gonna look really good at the direction you projected, and it will be stretched here and you know, to the side. So that's not good enough either. Okay. So what about we have UVs? What if we have UVs? Let's try that. Okay, let me go back to show everything. Let's use UV master just to give us a proper UV here. So we can go for UV master underneath the plugins. Okay, we can do UV master, and then let's turn on symmetry and also turn on polygroups, so it will try to cut everything across the edge of polygroups. Okay, and then let's work on clone, and then flat unwrap it. Okay, and then let's see how it looks like. It looks like this. That's fun. It's all symmetrical, which is good. And then let's unflatten it and copy UVs, and then we can go back to the original model here, which is this one, I believe. This one actually, and let's paste the UV back. Okay, so now we have UV. And then we can try the same noise but using the UV method, and we may be able to achieve what we want, right? So let's try that. Not sure why this one is having that material banded to it. Let's turn out the polypens. Anyway, let's go to the surface and then noise. And this time we're loading the same alpha, but we're not using the 3D projection because of the downside of stretching here on the side. Right, they have stretching on the side. That's not what we want. So instead of having that, we wanted to have the UV. Okay, and that way nothing is stretched at least, and then we can change the alpha scale to repeat it, and we can make the strings stronger, and then we can press OK. Right, and that way we have populated the pattern across the model. Of course, if you don't want it to be on the edge, you can isolate that. Okay, and then you can do a mask by noise, then de-isolate that. Actually, let's reverse it first, or let's reverse that and mask others. Sometimes I get confused about which one to mask, but the idea is just mask that. Okay, and then we can smooth. I don't think we can smooth it though. But anyway, then we can do a inflate to inflate it out. Okay, and then we get a nice pattern here. There's no stretching because we're using UV. Okay, alright, so that one works for this guy, I guess, but you do see that it's shifted a little bit, right? This one is not in the middle, which sometimes is that is okay if you are having a pattern that you just want to repeat it across the model. But if you want it to be exactly there, or you want to control where the pattern is, then the noise function does not give you that option. Okay, you cannot offset those things. Those values apparently does nothing. For some reason, I cannot make them work or do anything. I think that's crap, but they're just not doing anything. Okay, so that's not actually something you can utilize. So if you want to specifically define where it is, it's gonna be harder, and it involves a more complex workflow, but I can show you that here. So to achieve that, let me actually Control Z go back before I do anything there. Okay, to really achieve that, what you want to do here is you want to go to Subtool and first duplicate it. Okay, you still need the UV, so make sure you have that, and then you can go down to a lower subdivision level if that's easier for you. 1 million, I believe that's okay, right? We can then go delete the lower resolution and higher subdivision. Just delete all the subdivision level, leaving you only one object with one subdivision level. And then you can go to UV mapping and then morph UV. That's gonna morph it to the UV geometry, and this is actually a geometry you can create. So I'm gonna, with that on, I'm gonna go for make polymesh 3D, and what this does is ZBrush will create a polygon using this. Okay, it's gonna take a while, but when it's done, you should be able to see. Now I'm just converting the UV into a polygon. Okay, now the reason for that is now we can do everything we want on the UV. So we have a UV version of the model. You can of course go back to here, and this one is still okay, but because I duplicated it, I don't really need this one anymore, so I can delete that. Okay, of course I want to know where the UV of this guy is, so let me morph UV here. It's that one, right? So I know that's the one. So if I want some pattern repeated on that one, I can go to the UV version of it, and then I can use standard. Let me go turn on the colorize underneath polypen. I know it's gonna be a little bit more complicated than you think, but it's the only way I know that would work. So let's go use the black color and then flood it using RGB only. Fill object, okay, and then go back to white, and then we can use the standard brush with the alpha with RGB. We can then start drawing out the pattern. You can see that because we're doing it this way, let me actually isolate that one. Because we're doing this way, we can define where it is now, right? And let me make the focal length all the way to -100, so I get a very sharp edge. If I want to repeat it, I can go to alpha, and then underneath the modify, I can of course repeat the tiles maybe 3 times on the U and V direction, so I can have a bigger one. Alright, so that way I can really define, okay, I just want this in the middle, right? It's symmetrical here. This way I can do that here. And notice that it's blurry. That's because our model is not high resolution enough, so you may want to Control D to subdivide it. And I already have a lot of vertices on it, so it may not be easy. Oh, because I'm subdividing the visible polygons, that's why I should have done that on the on everyone instead of just that one. So let's Control Z, go back. Okay, so I can Control D to get a higher resolution. Isolate that one more time. I'll make sure I have colorize on. Use a black color, and let's first fill the entire object, and then we can isolate that one, and then we can use standard brush to drag out the geometry. Okay, the pattern here. I can really define where it is now. Okay, and then I can convert that, just to be safe though. I think maybe that's the one too, so I'm gonna drag another one here also. I want it to be actually over here, maybe a little bit higher than that. I don't want that one to be changed though, so I can do a auto group, and then also have that one. Okay, over here. Okay, that's where I want it to be. Alright, so we can go back and we can go to texture, map, and then create from polypaint, and then clone that texture. Okay, now I have a texture which defines where I want to have those patterns, and then I can go back to the model I had earlier, right? And then I can go to texture, map, and then use that texture. You know what? I got it in the wrong direction. But you see what that means, right? Now I have defined where it is exactly there. So I'm not sure why I didn't get it correct. Let's go back here and let me paint here. Okay, let me morph UV. Actually, I think it's that one then. Let me go back and get that one. Just want it to be working there, so I need to go back here. So that one also need the pattern. That's actually the one. I'm gonna do a auto group so I can isolate one of these. Not doing anything. Oh, because I'm using the texture already. Turn it off. Okay. And I'm gonna use no texture. Let me mask the bottom part and define them all individually. The other one should be the one, but just in case. Okay, so I want something here. Okay, for the other one I want maybe something like this. Okay, alright, and then create from polypaint one more time, clone texture, go back to my original one. Let's turn on the texture, and then we can morph back. Now I have that thing that I needed, right? Cool. So now, because it's a texture, I can convert any texture into a mask by going to masking, and then mask by color, mask by intensity. Okay, and then I can go back and turn off the texture map, and you see I have the mask there, and then I can, you know, pop those things out by inflating it. Okay, and because I have specifically defined where they are, they're exactly there, right? That's one of the more precise ways. So now they're symmetrical, everything looks pretty nice. Okay, so you can do the same thing, of course, for the side of the face. I'm not going to do that anymore, but you see that's the entire technique of applying details, creating edges for a normal armor. So I hope this helps for your working pipeline. I know that the last technique here is a little bit more complicated, but that's the only way I know. If you have other ways, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to learn that from you. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.